Welcome to my little Day of the Dead earrings. I'm going to first show you how to make the paper clay bead cap so you can learn how to make simple little beads that you might need in a whimsical style like this out of paper clay. And then I'm going to go on to show you how to make the rest of the project. We'll go through what's in your little kit. Your kit's going to have head pins. Oops, that's my kit for demoing today. Your kit's going to have two little hat rims. It's going to have 4 head pins. You're only going to need 2, but I find that these head pins sometimes break, so it gave you extra. Then your kit will already have the little hats, but I'm going to show you how to make those. Then it's going to have the little collar shrink plastic bead in black, red silk, 100% silk ribbon, which ties really nicely, our little skull beads, and then these cute little seed beads, spacer beads, and adorable little metal flat spray painted flower bead caps, and 2 sequins. Then what you need for the class will be a heat gun. It looks like I put a lot of, no, I didn't put extra in here. A heat gun, got all those back. A heat gun, craft heat gun, and the Shrinkets green fluted spacer bead mold. Okay, and then colored pencils. I've got these in bright colors, so I'm using ultramarine and sunburst yellow and magenta, or this is mulberry magenta, you know, Halloween-y colors, or Day of the Dead, bright Day of the Dead colors, chartreuse, black, and then vermilion, and light aqua. One thing I will tell you is make sure you put some yellow in there, because yellow is a big part of Day of the Dead. It's the color of marigolds, and marigolds are placed out because they have a really strong aroma when they're dry or when they're fresh. And the theory is that the spirits can smell the aroma of the flowers you set out for them, and it brings them home, guides them home on that special day. So this is my little kit. I'm going to set it aside here because I'm going to go on next and show you how to make the paper clay. And also you will need pliers, wire cutters, chain nose pliers, and round nose. So here we are. And the paper clay that I always recommend is Paper Clay brand. It's called Creative Paper Clay. I sell this on my website, and you can get it at a lot of places, but I do sell an 8-ounce on my website if you're not familiar with it. We will be using, I also sell a starter kit. And one of the things that comes in the starter kit is this cone roller, and I'll be showing you how to use that. And then we're going to need sandpaper, and then you're going to need Dremel, or a little this bead reamer that I have that I use all the time for paper clay. Now this is me just showing you how to make this, because remember I told you already have these in your kits. I just want to show you how to make this little cap bead out of paper clay for the future. So I'm going to take the paper clay, and when I'm not using it, I store it in a little rubber container with a lid and put some water in there, because it does have shelf life and it'll dry out. And if it feels like dried out pie dough, lots of cracks and stuff in it, it's not that fun to work with. It's kind of going on its way out. So I'm going to make 2 small balls here. I always roll and condition the paper clay. I'm going to take a little away. 2 small balls. Divide that in half, roll, and roll. That's how I know I'm going to have 2 hats. Now, I'm going to, this is a cone roller, and I'm just going to roll. I'm rolling it at a beveled angle to create the cone. 1, 2. And then I will set those aside to dry. They will air dry in the oven. I mean, they can go in the oven at about 150 to 170. And for something like this, 15, 20 minutes is very most. You can burn the paper clay, and I have, but if you're going to paint it, no worries. You can just cover up the brown paper clay. And paper clay shrinks very little, so you don't have to worry too much about it burning and getting really tiny. Once these are dry, here's one that's dry. It'll be really hard, very, very durable. Paper clay has paper mulch in it, paper pulp in it, preservatives, volcanic ash, and water. The volcanic ash makes it very, very durable. So the next thing I do is sand. This is a medium grit sandpaper, about a 150. I'm sanding the base. And if I want to sand any of the sides, I can, but usually it's just fine. And then I'm sanding the top. Notice how I'm going to turn it and go in one direction. That way I won't get a little bevel. And this is how you get these nice, crisp looks as if it's carved out of paper. Take a little more off the bottom. And this also helps you control. You can be sitting them side by side and, oh wow, they're the same size. Now I could take a Dremel and I could drill a little hole here with a little 16-inch drill bit. Or usually the paper clay, when you roll a little cone, will have this natural little hole inside. Sometimes there'll be like a little gap up here at the top, like a little crack or something from the paper clay drying, and you can just fill that with a little bit of wet, moist paper clay. But I'm just drilling like so. Okay, just using this like a drill. And working, see, we're just working to make sure that my two holes meet. So once I got that hole going, I can just open it up a little bit. Open it up a little bit here. And I can get those two holes meeting. Now, obviously, doing this with a Dremel is a lot faster, but this is a more precise way and makes a smaller hole. And it's just really nice to give you control if you're doing some really precise little beads. And then the sanding just does a really nice job of making it look like a little crisp bead that's been made out of wood or machine made. If you want that look and don't want, like I call, a Fred Flintstone bead. See, that's a Fred Flintstone bead with its rounded edges. So then here, notice how I can use this, the little bead reamer, to hold my paint. And I'm just using a craft paint on this. And no, I'm not going to worry about sealing it. Now, if you want to seal it, let's say you're going to use these type of beads on a necklace. I'd get a really high quality spray sealer, something like a Rust-Oleum, and I'd get matte or shiny or whatever, and that would do pretty good. And you know how hand-painted beads, doesn't matter if you buy them from a manufacturer and you know that the paint will wear out. If you really want to do something cool, and I've done this before with my handmade paper clay beads, is then I make epoxy resin, not UV resin, epoxy resin, because I've got more time to work with it. And I coat them with that, and I get this gorgeous gloss finish, and it looks just like a fired clay bead. So there's our little hat. And then I just want you to know that if you are working on this little guy and you've gotten the hats from me and you do something and you need to touch up, go ahead and touch up with a craft paint. Okay, so that's how you make a paper clay hat bead. So the first little bead we're going to color, shrink plastic bead, is our little hat rim. Right there. And I've got my colors out. I'm going to edge the little bead in the ultramarine, so I'm burnishing off an edge. So I've got this nice flat wide edge. I'm doing this on the frosted side of the bead, and some breakage there. Coming around with a nice wide edge. I'm going to flip this over so that I don't have blue on my bead when I'm working. Make my little mark there. My mark is to let me know where the center of the camera is shooting. Use any pattern you want to. I'm just making mine a little hand-drawn whimsical pattern so it matches the style of the little skull bead. And if you notice, these little skull beads are cute. Whimsical style, ceramic, porcelain, and I'm showing you have double sides, so when you wear them as an earring or a pendant, they move, their face is going to show everywhere. So let's get that back on that. Now I'm using a shading technique, real light touch. When I shade, I kind of twirl. See how my hand twirls? I twirl, lightly hitting the surface, and the twirling action makes just kind of overlaps naturally. Creates an overlap so I don't get this, that line. Twirling, see how it overlaps? Now I'm going to smear. I'm rubbing that really hard. My finger's getting really hot. Okay, now I'm using this mulberry color, or a hot pink would be fun, but I like the mulberry. Do your little cap any way you want. You can use your art markers on it, pastels, ink stamp stencils. I'm bringing the black into the design up here so it all ties together. And then I'm coming in here with aqua. And I have green, but I think it'd be overkill, so I'm not going to use it because I've got that fun green right there. Okay, that's all there is to our colored pencil. And I'm going to go right into heating these. So this is the fluted spacer bead. I'm putting the pin in here. Doesn't matter if I put the shiny side down or the matte side down because this is a two-faced bead. It looks the same on both sides. We're heating it if we have a plugged in heater about an inch away. Oops. Trying to show you I'm an inch away, about that far away. Even, it goes fast. Wiggling and shriveling, that's what it's supposed to do. I'm hitting the sides that haven't shrunk, making sure it flattens out. Once it's flattened out and not moving anymore, I put the doming pin down on it, or the top of the mold, whatever you want to call this. Count to about 5 seconds, and the little guy is cool. Now, next I'm going to put my little collar in the fluted spacer bead mold, and it'll just add some ruffles to it. Straight down. I know you can't see. Coming over, hitting the sides. That goes really fast. Coming on down. This just is going to make a few tiny ruffles. The bead's really tiny, so pattern doesn't show up that much, but it's just enough to create a little ruffly effect. There, we're done with the shrinking. So let's do our little wire wrap. Now, if you noticed, design, that on these two I just switched little bottom beads around for fun. So do whatever you feel like. So the first bead we're going to put on is one of the small ones, red or yellow. And I'm putting blue. Then I'm putting this silver spacer bead, the little ruffled shrink plastic collar, our little skull bead. I'm taking the spacer bead that we made and I'm putting the shiny side down. That's my choice. Whoopsie, I forgot something fun. I forgot the little aqua bead. Silver spacer. Love that little aqua bead. Can't forget it. There we go. I'm putting the shiny side down on that. I'm putting my paper clay bead in. My sequin bead. Green bead. And red bead. Okay. Got a little cutie pie here. Now I'm taking my pliers to do my wire wrap. I'm putting my round nose pliers in my left hand and grabbing the bead and giving myself wherever I put that. If I put it way here, I'll have a loop the size of that nose. Or if I go here, I'll have a really tiny nose. Or if I go at midpoint, I'll have a medium nose. And notice I'm giving myself a little space right here. So I'm holding this really firmly in my left hand, and I'm bringing the tail around and down. See? Now I'm taking it off. I'm going to grab that tail, and then I'm grabbing, I grab the loop, and I'm grabbing the tail, and I'm just bringing that slowly around. Now, if I don't have a whole lot of tail to work with here. So it's really short, and yours will be really short too, so I can grab it here and come in here and hopefully squeeze that. I'm going to hold it right there and squeeze that tail in there without breaking the bead. There we go. So little cutie pie, and now we're going to take the ribbon, and you'll cut yours. You'll have ribbon like this, and you'll cut it in half, so you have one for each of them. You could put this, I'm going to put it down here, but if you wanted, you could put it right there as a little hat brim. So I'm bringing this around and tying a shoelace knot on it. And I'm just going to do a double shoelace knot on it. And I'm pushing it down so it tucks under, and it'll fill in any gap. And then I'm coming around with a double. And because that's silk, it makes a really nice tight knot. Now I'm going to grab my chewing scissors and cut the edges, which these are my chewing scissors. And that's okay because I wanted a little fray on there. If you don't want a little fray, use a little fray check on your edges. But I like that little frayed look. Fray it a little more. So there we are. Now your kit did not come with ear wires because everybody has a preference of an ear wire. I can see that little tail is bothering me still. So I'm bringing that up and making sure that's nice and tight. Now if you have extra tail, take your nippers and nip it. So everybody has a different preference. I can only wear gold. So I would have added some gold metal in here if I was real persnickety about the gold going with the gold there. And I would put some little gold metal to tie it all in. And some people can wear anything. Some people need nickel free. So I'm letting you pick your ear wires and the style you like. So there we go. And thank you for joining me.